billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I greet my brothers and sisters with the noble and universal greeting of peace, the greeting that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal creator, Almighty Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, a privilege to be alive, another week, an opportunity to keep reminding, for reminding benefits the believers. And so last week I made the point that those human beings who want to bring to Allah a purified heart, those human beings who have heard that it is not our children nor our wealth, it's not our wealth nor our children that's going to benefit us upon our return. The only thing that's going to benefit us upon our return to our Creator is bringing to Allah a purified heart. You see, those of us who understand that this is what the Quran is telling us, that we are to remember Allah and bring to Allah a purified heart. That if you do this, if you remember Allah and you bring to Allah a purified heart, then that's what's going to be the benefit for you. Anything else you do in the world, and you fail to remember Allah, and you fail to bring to Allah a purified heart, anything else you do doesn't benefit you. Not wealth, not work, not children, not family, not spouses. So that's what we are talking about here, that we are interested in the message of the Quran. The Quran is a guidance to humanity to heal the diseases in the hearts of people. You understand? And so not everybody is interested in the message of the Quran. Apparently a lot of people are interested in just reading it and reciting it over and over without actually becoming aware of its message and accepting its message. So I was sharing with you that I am communicating to you my journey, my adventure from a diseased heart to a heart that is not as diseased as it has been, and a heart that is more purified today than it's ever been. And so we are talking about the Quran. The month of Ramadan, the Quran, the revelation of the Quran began. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the one chosen to receive the Quran. The Quran is here to guide humanity, a guidance and it's for those who are interested in being guided, and it's for those who reason and reflect and ponder. Get what I mean? So the Quran is guiding humanity to a higher level of awareness, a higher level of experiencing life beyond a diseased heart. And now all of us, as the Quran tells us, it's only when we remember Allah that we no longer will have a diseased heart. And so my experience has been hitting rock bottom in the 90s, mid to late 90s, and realizing that I know that I don't know. And I thought other people knew. And when I asked them, I didn't have any satisfying answers, and that's when I came to realize other people too, they also don't know. And that's when I submitted my mind and the mind of human beings, and I realized that nobody and nothing in the created world has any true knowledge. Allah alone, beyond this world, the creator of the world, is alone knowledgeable. That human beings we can have our ideas from our mind, and we can become aware. Allah has created us with the capacity to become aware and to reason. And we can become aware and we can reason if we are no longer living with a diseased heart, a diseased mind, when we are no longer insecure. Remember, the Quran said, when Adam, the Prophet Adam, peace be upon him, repented, he realized, what did they do? And Allah said, there you and your people will remain until guidance comes to you. And when whoever guidance comes to and whoever receives that guidance, they will no longer be insecure. So what's the difference between an insecure human being and a secure human being? It's basically the difference between being a believer, which is one who is secure. Mu'min means the secure. A mu'min is the secure. A mu'min is the secure. And when you are not a mu'min, you are insecure. So the Quran says when guidance comes to you and those who receive the guidance, they will no longer be insecure. You understand? And the Quran speaks about the three types of people. One who has ideas about God, and these ideas are that God doesn't exist. They are the kuffar, the concealers, the deniers. It's not a judgmental word, it's just a descriptive word. They are concealers and deniers. Allah says, let those who choose to disbelieve, let them disbelieve. Those who choose to believe, let them believe. Allah allows people to believe or disbelieve. It's an option given to humanity based on the choices that humanity make, is the consequences they will have in this world through the death and beyond. You get what I mean? So, the first group of people who have ideas in their mind about Allah and Allah not existing, they're the kuffar, the concealers, the deniers, the unbelievers. You see, and then you get those who have ideas about Allah or God, but these are ideas that are clearly in error. They believe a man is God, a woman is God, the sun is God, somebody or something is God, money is God. Their life revolves around something or somebody in the created world, or somebody they imagine in the created world. Something would form. Allah is beyond form, the creator of form. Allah is the unique and supreme. But people have ideas of Allah that reduce Allah to things in the creation, like having a gender. A man is God, you know what I mean? Or and so on and so forth. Or they reduce God to like a thing somewhere in time and space having dimensions. Or they just have some ideas in their mind that somebody came up with, you know, this and that is God. Fire is God, the sun is God, something in the created world. And so these are associators of partners with God. They associate partners with God, they associate powers with God, and they are clearly astray too. But they really think that these gods that they have, or these things that they take as a God, they turn to can avail them, and they live like that. But these things don't benefit them. They can't, because they are in the created world, or they're made up. And these ideas in the minds of people. You get what I mean? So that's the mushrik, the polytheists, I call them the pluralists. They believe in other than God. There's only one, the singular. There's only one, the only. And that one is beyond this world, before us, because of whom we are. So the third category of people is those who have ideas about Allah and the Quran and the Prophet and Islam, but these are ideas in their mind. Somebody gave them ideas about what Islam is, what the Quran is, and you know, it's just to be read, but you don't supposed to get its message. The Prophet, just have a beard, put a hat on your head, you know, you like the Prophet now. You're missing out on the guidance of the Quran. You're missing out on the caliber of human being, the leader and the model, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was. You're missing out on the creator, of course, the nature of the creator, you know, unique and supreme, the onlyness, the oneness, before creation, the only existing, the pure, the holy, the pristine, the perfect, beyond conception, you know, the unique, the one that is all-powerful intelligence, there is no other. Benevolent intelligence. So people don't know God as an awareness experiencing of our universal creator, Almighty God, whom we call Almighty Allah. So they have these ideas of religion, you know, Islamic religion. I call them Islamis. They are hypocrites. The Quran calls them hypocrites. Again, it's not a bad thing if somebody, it's not a good thing either. It's just a description. I was a hypocrite. It doesn't mean it means something about me, except it's describing me. It describes that I say I believe in Allah in the last day, but I don't really believe in Allah in the last day. I'm no different from the mushriks. When you are when you're a hypocrite, say you believe and you don't believe, you have ideas of Allah, but you're not having the awareness and actual experience of Allah. And so you're not feeling secure in your heart. The Quran says when you remember Allah, your hearts experience assurance. So the hypocrites will say, no, we are Muslims. And you know what, we read so many Qurans in the month of Ramadan, and we got our hat, or we'd be like the Prophet in some descriptive way of dressing, or you know, we speaking in a certain way, we like the Prophet, this is what it means, we got our pants above our ankles. And we are Muslims, because we're following the Sunnah, and we stand for halal, but they forget about the tayyib, all that sort of thing. They pick and choose from religion. They're following a made-up religion of hypocrisy, their own ideas. And they say, no, we believe. The Quran says, do not say that you believe, unless Iman has entered into your heart. And so you get people who are real Muslims, and they have accepted Allah, and they've accepted the Prophet and the Quran and Islam, and they're really practicing. But they Iman hasn't entered into their hearts. Those are the Muslimun, But there are people who are hypocrites. See, in total, I can see 5 types of people. As I said, the kuffar, the mushrik, the munafiq. Right, so the munafiq is the hypocrite. They say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't. They fool themselves thinking they fool Allah. That's what the Quran says. And in their hearts is a disease. And that disease is expanded. They are astray. And they are left to stray. So those are the 3 people who have ideas about Allah. And they're not aware of Allah, and they're not experiencing the connection with Allah. They're not experiencing it. I said there's 2 more. And these 2 more are inclining to truth and moving in the right direction. Those 3 are off. They have ideas. So the 4th one is, I said, the Muslimun, as-salamna, people of, the way, as-salamna. The Quran say that you are salamna, but not Iman. You're not yet there. So there are people who actually have, in theory, they have a concept, and they understand the concept in theory. There's only one. These things, other things are not God. And there are people who, recognize the Prophet to be the messenger and bringing of the final revelation, an amazing human being. They recognize at an intellectual level, the issues of those other 3. They are sound intellectually, and they are sound when it comes to recognizing that Allah is not something in time and space. Allah is not that which, Allah is the unique and supreme. They know in terms of what is not truth, the errors of those 3. They know that. This as-salamna, the people who know the errors of those 3, and they have a proper conception of Allah, and they understand that the Prophet was the greatest leader that has ever lived, will ever live, a model to humanity. They understand that. They're not saying, no, wear a hat, that's a Prophet. Put a beard on your face, that's a Prophet. They're not there. They're beyond that. And they are aware that Islam is what it is, a beautiful way for humanity to live and society to live, a theocracy. They understand that. They're not just picking and choosing and saying, making stories, passing fatwas. They're actually understanding the whole thing of redistribution of wealth. They understand the beautiful system. Don't drink alcohol. It destroys societies. People on the road, drunken, meeting with accidents, all this kind. I was speaking to a magistrate the other day, and at the regional court, and he was telling me. He said to me, there are people like policemen and all that is in court, and while they're under the influence of alcohol, these policemen and upstanding people, they behave badly. Let me just put it to you that way. The inhibitions go. So you get people who stand for the law. The moment they drink alcohol, they do things that can put them in jail forever. You understand? So this is what alcohol can do to people. So somebody who's really interested in Iman and Islam, not Iman, somebody who's really interested in Islam will recognize these things that people are doing. This is an error. The kuffar, the munafiq, the mushrik, they can see it plainly. And they can see the Prophet for who the Prophet really was and what he stood for, the honorable man that he was, and his example to humanity. They can see Islam. They can see the beauty. We don't do this, we right, and hypocrisy. They can see the beauty of the system of Islam and why it serves people, the redistribution of wealth, don't drink alcohol, all this kind of superstitious ways that destroy humanity. They can see it. Why usury bonds people for life, and why the Quran is against usury. Where you bond people and then they become slaves with money. Any sensible human being will be able to see the value of the teachings of Islam. But yet the Islamis, they're so deep in their identity, they can't see the value of Allah, the Prophet, Islam, the Quran, halal and tayyib. So you get what I'm saying. So there are kuffar, mushrik, munafiq, and then you get those who have submitted in religion, true religion. But then there's also the believer into whose heart's iman has entered. You get what I mean? So I am focusing on the area of iman, amal, and a life tayyibun. This is my focus. That's what I am focused on. Cleansing my heart. So I'm telling you my journey and how I got to where I am. And I'm explaining to you that you can be in this world and you can be lost in different, of those 5 types that I shared with you. Well, you're not lost in when you're moving towards a salam now and you're beginning to reason and reflect and saying, hey, this makes sense. These things in the world cannot be God. Look at this man, the Prophet Muhammad, and look at his amazing contribution. And you're reasoning. So the moment you move out of the first 3 and you move into the 4th one, a salamna, you're a sensible human being. You're going beyond superstition. You're going beyond ignorance. You're going beyond arrogance. You move into a salamna. And you are a member of society and you are standing for a better you and a better family and a better society, a salamna. You are contributing to a better world. And then from being that person who's on the path to a better world for you and others, where you stand for sensibility, not superstition, ignorance, arrogance, entitlement. You're not living deeply lost with Satan, a salamna, one who is submissive in religion. Then from there, you can usually go into iman. But for me, it was a bit different. I was sensible, I knew, and I went into iman. And this is how it happened. Because when I realized I can't know, nobody else knows, but there's only Allah alone who created me who knows, I stopped turning to my mind, I stopped turning to the minds of others. And in that moment, intuition, I was saying to us last month, Allah shares with me, Allah tells me things. So people are like, oh, you're a prophet. No. The Quran says if you believe in Allah, He will guide your heart. See? So intuition. I get intuitions. I get a feeling sense. When I ask a question, when I open to Allah, say, you guide me regarding this. Not from my mind, but from my heart, Allah guides me. And a feeling sense comes forward. And I am able to understand that intuition. And I am able to use that intuition to make decisions in my life. So this is what happened. I submitted. And I said, Allah, if you're here, guide me. Guide me, because I don't know. The people I'm turning to, they don't know. They're telling me all these stories, but doesn't sound like it makes any sense to me. Guide me. And in that moment, I went beyond the created world, and I opened up to the beyond this world. And the one that actually alone is the always guiding of humanity, the one who gave us the Quran, the merciful, the compassionate, is there for all of us. If you believe in Allah, He'll guide your heart. But if you think you know, you think the guru knows, you think somebody knows, the prophets themselves said, of that knowledge we don't know. We are men like you. The prophets have told the people. We are people like you. We don't have that knowledge. Only Allah has that knowledge. The prophets turned to Allah to be guided. The prophets turned to Allah for that guidance of their heart, and those are the prophets. And the messengers and the revelators got revelation through Jibreel alayhi salam and so on and so forth. The revelators, the messengers, they brought a message, a revelation. But they were humans. I know some people, they put the prophets onto a higher status. They do have status in terms of their conduct and character and the honorable human being that they've been in excellence. But they not have status in terms of put them on a pedestal, like above, like between us and God, they become demigods. But there are people who have done that to their prophets. There are people who have done that to their gurus, put them on a pedestal. No, there's human beings all are the same in that we are human beings, we all are. But in terms of piety, in terms of connection with our Creator, the Quran says those who are aware and those who are aware are not the same. If you are aware, you are not the same from those who are unaware. So when I submitted, I recognized the guidance that was always there. and I started experiencing this guidance, and I became aware of the mercy of Allah to humanity. And so, what is the big deal of guidance? You see, what is the big deal of guidance? This is what I want to focus on and share with you. That if you do not receive guidance, then your heart remains diseased. Your heart remains diseased. You know what I mean? Your heart will remain diseased because we fell in awareness. We are yet to remember Allah. Remember, after Adam and Eve with the incident with Shaitan, they were in a state of forgetfulness. They had forgotten Allah. So human beings, you and me, that's where we start in this world. Even the prophets had to remember Allah. Even the prophets were guided, through they were inclining to truth. So it so happens when I went through my dark days, I turned to Allah, inclined to truth in some way, like, please help. What's going on here? And I didn't realize that my heart was diseased, and what I was living was the consequences of a diseased heart. I didn't know the stress and distress that I was feeling, the strain, the difficulty I was living. At that time, I was a man extremely insecure. I was a man self-defeating, life-destructive. I was a man at certain times, while I was behaving like that, the diseased heart, I even became a religious fanatic. But my heart was finished, it was closed, shut down, diseased. And there are many people like that. I mean, I was one of them, and I saw other people who, their hearts are so diseased, and their minds are like off track, they're not aware, they're not in salam, they're not in peace. And they don't behave in a way that's respectful of themselves, their bodies, their lives, their afterlife. They're not respectful to others. Remember what the Quran says? Woe to those who stand in prayer, but whose hearts lack the smallest of kindnesses. It's bad news for those who are hypocrites. So, and elsewhere it says those that are hypocrites are no different from those that are the polytheists, because they don't know God really. They just have ideas of God, and they will have the same faith, the same, what will happen to the polytheists will happen to them. So, because they're not really Allah aware, and they're not experiencing that security. So I was telling you, there's people who are insecure, and there are people who are secure. And these insecure people have the diseased hearts, and they haven't remembered, they haven't received the guidance of Allah, and they haven't remembered, their hearts are diseased, and that disease is expanded, and they are stray, and they are left to stray, and they move astray. And I was one of those people, and I became this fanatic about religion. Be like this, do like this, thinking this is the right thing. I was a religious addict, at one point in my life. I became a fanatic. I was a religious addict. And it didn't help either. And so you get people like that, and I was one of them. And shukr to Allah for His guidance, that I realized I don't know. And I could see my heart was diseased. I could feel it. I could feel like the way I was living, something was wrong with it. Instead of just thinking, oh, never mind, my heart is diseased, never mind, my behaviors are self-destructive, my behaviors, my attitudes are self-defeating, my behaviors are life-destructive. I was completely off track. But there are people like that, completely off track, but they think because we got the religion and we just believe this and we join the right people and we're doing the right thing, we are better than others, religious addicts, religious fanatics. In all religions you get them. I was one of them as an Islami. And you think that's it now. Oh, I'm so righteous. You know what I mean? But fortunately, after all that, I realized guidance. What is guidance? What is the Quran guiding us to purify the heart? How do we do that? You see, what is that about really? So most people will not recognize that they have not remembered Allah. And they will not recognize, because in the remembrance of Allah, hearts experience assurance. In the remembrance of Allah, hearts experience assurance. So there's many people not remembering Allah because their hearts haven't experienced assurance. Remember, the Quran says, when you believe in Allah, He'll guide your heart. So there are a lot of people whose hearts are not guided because their hearts are diseased, and they have no assurance because they don't believe in Allah. See, the Quran says, remember Allah, believe in Allah, be grateful to Allah. The Quran says, when you're grateful to Allah, Allah will give you more. When you are grateful to Allah, Allah will give you more. You understand? When you're grateful to Allah, Allah will give you more. See, so, and people are not getting more. They're not realizing, they're not remembering Allah, they're not believing in Allah, they're not grateful to Allah. They don't realize that. Their life is showing us that. Now this is what I was saying. That, and some people think, but I got a good job, I got a good business, I got good money. It must be because Allah has blessed me. I must be, the Islamic teaching tells us, Allah gives you the rope, you run with it. And eventually, you hang yourself with the same rope that the people Allah gives to them, but they don't humble. So there's a lot of munafiqs, mushriks and kafirs that, although they have a diseased heart, they're not spiritually expressed, they don't feel the peace in their heart. They have a lot of things in this world that they feel very powerful and comfortable. So they must be thinking, oh, Allah has favored us. But actually, Allah favors you when you are called and given and you receive that favor, which is Iman. When your heart is being purified and cleansed, when you're on the path of priority to remember Allah, to purify your heart and to be grateful to Allah that you get more and more. This is the path. Guide us to the straight path, the ascending path, the direct path upon whom your blessings are given. We're not said guide to one place. Usually a path takes you to a place. So we're not guided. It doesn't say guide us to heaven. No, guide us to a path, because you step along a path, you drive along a road. You get what I mean? So this is a path. This is a way of living. This is a way of living. Iman, amal, a life tayyibun. Quran says whether you're male or female, if you have Iman in your heart, if you have honorable conduct, male or female, in this world you will have a wholesome life. Allah's promise is if you have Iman in your heart and you live with that Iman and honorably, Iman, Amal, you will have in this world a life wholesome. And I can tell you, I've been having a more and more wholesome experience of life. More and more wholesome experience of life. You understand? A more and more wholesome experience of life. A more and more wholesome experience of life. You know what I mean? That's how you know. So I didn't know all this then. All I knew is I was not feeling good and things were really bad. I was like a fanatical guy with God, and didn't work. I tried that, didn't work. Listening to all the gurus and pandits making me fanatical, didn't work. And then I was harming myself with my own. I used to smoke cigarettes, I used to smoke other things. I was in a bad way, and I was living my life neglectful of my life and the people in my life. I was very destructive to me and other people. And this is when I submitted and guidance came to me, that I require guidance. And the guidance is that which takes me out of the diseased heart. It takes me out of failing to remember Allah. I start remembering Allah. It takes me out of being connected and receiving. I wasn't receiving that intuitive guidance. The Quran is showing us how to connect with Allah, who Allah is and how to connect with Allah, where we are in error, what keeps us from connecting with Allah. That's what the Quran shows us. So I recognized the guidance of the Quran and I submitted. I took no partners. I was like, I'm not turning to anybody, not even me. I turn only to the one who created me. Like the same thing Abraham realized, inclining to truth. He looked for God everywhere and then he realized, I'm trying to figure it out. The one who created me will guide me. It's a universal kind of thing, So I don't know, but that's where I went. I went into this feeling of nobody can help me, I can't help me, but I didn't feel helpless. I said, Allah, you can help me. If you're there, now you start talking, you're there, please start talking. I require you to speak to me. Guide me. I know I don't know. I know I don't know. Something I don't know. Look at me. It's not you that you must change my life situation. Me, I'm in a bad way here. Usually when people hit rock bottom and they get into problems in life, their prayer to God is for relief, safety and excitement. Please bring back my lost lover. Please bring back the money I lost. Please bring back my health. Please, please, please. But that problem in your life is the reflection of how you're living. The Quran says, if you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a deprived life. If you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a deprived life. You get what I mean? That's how it is. So I didn't know that when you fail to remember Allah, because you're ignorant, you're superstitious, you're arrogant, you're feeling entitled, you have this kind of no valuing and appreciating. The Quran says, let them in the mercy of Allah rejoice. You're not rejoicing, you're not celebrating Allah's grace. You don't know Allah, you're not praising Allah, really praising. You're just doing rituals thinking you praise. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know that I had these sort of ego ideas that I can change things, or I can change Allah, meaning I can get Him to do things. So I had all those nonsense ideas in my mind. I had all these ego desires that what we want is the current situation to be sorted out. I didn't know that first we must want a heart that is purified. I didn't know that. How can I, when the gurus and pandits and everybody is not telling us what the Quran is telling, just read the Quran. You get what I mean? Nobody told me that the first thing I'm to want before I can want anything else, and the most important thing for me to want is to want to remember Allah, experience assurance with Allah. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that the first thing I can want is to purify my heart. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that if I'm appreciative for what Allah has given to me, He'll give me more. Nobody told me any of this. They just told me, do your rituals. Be a good, devoted follower of the Guru and Pandit. Read like this, do more reading, do more this, do more. The prayers from India. Indians in India love doing prayers. The Hindus, and I got nothing against them. And so a lot of us still love doing prayers, but we might not want to remember Allah. We might not want to purify our hearts. We might not want to be grateful. So I didn't know that the first and most important thing was for me to come right within me. The priority in life is to remember Allah. The priority in life is to begin the path of purification of the heart. The priority in life is to be actually grateful, what that means. I didn't know any of these things. I was living superstitious, ignorantly, arrogantly. I didn't know I was an Islami. Now you understand what an Islami is. If you are like me, or like how I was back then, you are Islami too. If you're like realizing, hey, nobody told me I'm to remember Allah, I don't know what that is. Nobody told me to purify my heart, and I don't know what that is. Nobody told me to be really grateful, and nobody told me any of these things, that the heavens and the earth were created that we may recognize the power of Allah. Nobody told me all these things. They just told me, read this, do that. It's very likely you are still a diseased heart person living lost. And if you have problems in your life, like where I was, you would probably be saying, please God, I'm going to try and do this, then you must do that for me. You're negotiating and bartering and cutting a deal with your Creator, that the most important thing is bring back my husband, bring back my wife, the most important thing is bring back my money, the most important thing is bring back my health. If you are focused on the conditions of this world, and your prayer to Allah is more about the current conditions in this world, if that is your dua, and it's not, put Iman in this heart. I'm opening this heart for the Iman to be filled. Guide me in opening my heart, strengthening my faith. I want to live with Iman in my heart. I want to draw closer to you. I want to prostrate and draw closer to you. I want to live with Amal, Iman, Amal. I want to have a life tayyibun. I'm more interested in me being a believer. I'm more interested in me, how I conduct myself with me, my body, my life. I'm more interested in me, how I live in the world. I'm more interested in me having a natural experience of life in the world. I want to learn, grow and develop. I want to develop. The Quran is guiding humanity in spiritual development, psychological technological development, experiential development, how society can develop, communities can develop. The Islamic learning, the Quranic learning is a developmental learning. It's not a rote learning. What must I say? I will remember it. And I will say it over and over and over in my mind until I remember it, and I will regurgitate it. That's not the Islamic learning. Just say these things, just do these things. That's not Islamic learning. For anybody who reasons, Islamic learning is a development of the spirit, the relationship between you and Allah. The Quran is telling us that those who, fail to be grateful, if you are grateful for the benefit of your own soul. The Quran is telling us in different verses that you are here, and if you develop yourself spiritually, you will benefit your own soul. And the Quran tells us if you don't develop and learn, you will harm your own soul. You will commit an oppression against your own soul. Do you understand? The Quran is guidance for us to look at how we live in relation to our own soul. Now, nobody told me that. I thought I said my kalema, I go for, I'm this religious fanatic, God loves me and He'll listen to me. Now I just have to tell Him, come on, bring back this person who left me, bring back the money, bring back this, my health that was gone, cure me, superstitiously. This is superstition. Instead of saying, Allah, the priority is for me to bring to you a purified heart. The priority is for me to draw closer to you. The priority is for me to have iman. The priority is for me to recognize your power, your privileging. The priority is for me to receive your gracious nature, your gifting nature, your granting nature, your gifts. The priority is for me to be... I wasn't focused on me and how I was with my soul. My heart was diseased. And I was thinking in my head, I'm a fantastic guy because I'm doing all my prayers. And I'm thinking why? Why is all this happening? When I ask the people, say, Allah is testing you. Testing me? Allah is guiding me. He's not testing me. He's guiding me. And then He says, when you're guided, do not think you won't be assessed, but you'll just say, I believe, and you won't be assessed. That is the test. You see how the Islamis are off track? Their ideas and their thinking. They don't realize when you fail to remember Allah, yours is a diseased heart. When you fail to remember Allah, Allah fails to remember you. When you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a depressed life. That's what the Quran tells us. And I was depressed spiritually inside and outside. It was reflected in my life, and I didn't know. I was off track, and I'm praying to Allah, please fix this, fix that, fix this. I was living as a superstitious, ignorant, arrogant, entitled, devaluing, dismissing of Allah's gift of me. I was living with my ego full out. I can do this. I can get God to do this. I can control God. You understand? My Creator. I know everything, and what I want, the most ego desires. What I want is this thing in the world. I mustn't be sick. I must get my money back. I must get my spouse back. Whatever it is, these are the most important things in the world. If you think like that, this is an indication that you are where I was, off track. And things don't get better, because the Quran says for those who they say they believe in Allah in the last day and they don't. Their hearts are diseased because they only fool themselves thinking they fool Allah. They are left to stray. So those hypocrites who don't realize, hey, guess what? This is us. Is describing us. We are hypocrites. Their hearts are diseased, and that disease will be expanded. They're astray, and they will remain astray. Fortunately for me, my diseased heart wasn't increased in disease. It was healed more and more, and I wasn't left to stray. Allah guided me. So what I'm saying to you is, when you recognize the guidance of the Quran and what its value is to remember Allah, to bring to Allah a purified heart, to be grateful, to be in awe of the power of Allah, to invoke Allah, to actually have a relationship with Allah, an actual spiritually developed relationship with Allah, and that we can then live in a way that benefits our own souls, because at the time of death, it's too late after that. It's too late after that. You get what I mean? So this is the priority of a believer. Relationship with Allah, purify the heart. Now, most people who are in that category that they are lost, 1, 2, and 3, the kuffar, the kafir, and the munafiq, the denier, which is a concealer, the associator, the pluralist, and those who say they believe in Allah but they don't. Those three, They are diseased hearts. It's just going to get worse. They forgot Allah. They're not remembering Allah. They're going to live a depressed life. They can be rich. They can have a car. They can be very comfortable in this world. But they are not spiritually sound. You get what I mean? They're not really preparing themselves for the life of this world and the hereafter. They're in this world. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And they're going to have rude awakenings and shocks. The Quran is cautioning left, right and center. Read the Quran. It's brilliant in its methodology of, if you really read the Quran, it'll train you, at different levels. But if you understand, I'm not talking about reading it in a language you don't, but just doing more and more of reading it in a language you don't. That's ignorant people. The Quran says this is a book for those of understanding, for those who reflect, for those who ponder its verses. What you get from the guru and pandit. Just do this, religious expertise, do this, say this, do this. Do you have a pondering of the verses? When we talk here, am I not sharing the verses and pondering them with you? Are we not reflecting on the verses of the Quran? Are we not getting guidance? Are we not saying that, Allah, we want the guidance of the Quran, not just we want to read it in a language you don't understand? That's the Islamis. That's the cultists. That's the modified mushriks. That's the modified Hindus. They are like that. The true believer says this is a book of guidance, and what is this guidance and what is the value of guidance? So the value of guidance is that you don't remain with a diseased heart, and the diseased heart is not expanded, and you don't live a depressed life in this world through your death and beyond. That's the value of guidance. If you don't receive the guidance, the heart is diseased, it will continue to be diseased, you will be astray, you will continue to be astray. It doesn't end well for you in this world and the world. But if you receive the guidance that teaches you of Iman, Amal and a life tayyibun, if you are interested in Allah and submitting before Him and having a relationship with Allah, if you are interested in purifying your heart, looking after your soul, addressing your soul and getting your soul ready for your afterlife, if you're looking after your soul compared to committing aggression against your soul, if you are interested in taking care of your soul, you see, the Quran is for that. Not like, oh, my partner left me, my partner doesn't like me anymore, I lost my job, I got no money, God please, this is the most important things in the world, give me a new partner, return the old one, give me more money, give me more job, I need this, I need... If you're focusing on the world, the prayer of those without faith is nothing but vain prayers. If your most important concern is your current physical world experience, you haven't really humbled yourself before God. If you really, that means you say you believe in Allah in the hereafter. You say you believe in Allah in the last day. But you don't, because your du'as are more for this world than the home of the hereafter, which is eternal. My du'a first is for the hereafter. But I don't forget my portion in this world. I'm interested in this world. But Allah has guided me that I'm temporary in a temporary world. Allah alone is the permanent. My current experience is temporary in this world. Whatever is going on is temporary. I practice patience. The Quran says, for those who have patience, Allah is with those who are patient. This is what it means, spiritual development. You get what I mean? Before I was impatient. When there was drama and trauma in my life, Allah help me now. Allah, I need your help. Help me now. Please, 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 please. You know what I mean? There are people like that, desperate, turn to Allah desperately without faith. They are not true believers. A true believer trusts in Allah. A true believer knows that Allah is the unfailing. A true believer is patient. Can somebody be impatient, desperate, and be a true believer? That's not what the Quran says. The Quran says practice patience, practice a most elegant patience. You know what I mean? A complete fast. Not fast in the month of Ramadan. I know people are fasting, but they could actually be fasting. It's a big fast, because fasting is to develop taqwa. If you only but knew, the Quran says, what a fast does for a believer, it develops taqwa. Otherwise, you're no different from the person who's doing intermittent fasting. In fact, the person who's doing intermittent fasting is better than you, because when you break your fast, some of the people listening to this, you break it in a way that puts toxins into your body, unhealthy food that is not tayyib. You just flood it into your bloodstream. You get what I mean? This is the hypocrisy. That's why people get sick and ill. And you know what they do after that? Allah, this disease came from you. When people live with poor lifestyles that lead to their own diseases, they then act like they had nothing to do with it. This disease is from Allah. Allah knows best. Allah is testing me. Allah is guiding humanity to live in a way that benefits us, our bodies and our lives, to benefit society. Allah is telling us we are in a dark space. The way we are living is causing problems for us, our families and society. Receive the guidance of the Quran. No, we don't want to do that. We'll just read it in a language we don't understand. That's what we want to do with it. Can you see some picture, something not right with the picture? Do you understand why I'm talking out about it? I don't have to. I'm on a mission. I have realized the value of guidance for me individually and for society. But if society is not interested, if you're not interested, it doesn't matter to me, because it's only for me to bring to Allah my purified heart. So the guidance I value. You see, people want Allah to fix their lives up, to fix themselves up, to fix things up in the world. But they don't want Allah to guide them. They don't want to be guided by Allah. They're not receiving the guidance of Allah to go beyond living without iman in the heart, living with the impure heart. They want to remain like that. They don't want iman, amal, a life tayyibun. They don't value that. They don't want spiritual development, psychological development, societal development. They don't want that. They want to remain spiritually underdeveloped. They want to remain psychologically undeveloped. And they want to remain socially and communally undeveloped. But, we just want to not have the consequences of living superstitiously, ignorantly, arrogantly. So when I humble myself, and when I went through the dark night of the soul, as it's called, and asked Allah for guidance, I recognized that the guidance was to develop me. I was to draw closer to Allah. I was to prostrate and draw closer. I was to become a man of iman. I was to become a man of amal. I was to become a man who is pursuing a natural life in this world and a blissful return in the next. It was for me to become a different person. The guidance was assisting me to no longer be superstitious, ignorant, to awaken. The guidance was guiding me to a higher perspective of living. A believer is secure. They are aware of truth, and they have a higher perspective, and they live from a higher perception. That's the difference. When you live in a diseased heart, when you have, when you are kuffar, you have ideas of God that God doesn't exist. When you are mushrik, when you have associated partners with God, having ideas of God about things that are not God. When you say the words Allah and Islam and the Prophet and all the Islamic words, but you don't believe in Allah and the last day, you have ideas, erroneous ideas of what you're talking about. You're still not aware and experience. You are remaining in the fallen state. You're still not aware of truth. You are in a lower perspective. And when you're at a lower perspective, you attract lower thoughts, you have lower ideas. That's why the Quran says it is Satan who threatens you with insecurity and causes you to behave in ways unseemly. The Quran says Allah who extends to you His forgiveness and offers to you His blessings. The Quran says those who worship Allah and draw closer to Allah, Satan will have no authority over those devout in the worship of Allah. Not those who are practicing prayers, modified Hindus. No, it doesn't say that. It says those who are sincere in the connection with Allah, Satan will have no authority. Why does Satan have no authority over the believer compared to having authority over the non-believer? Well, the answer is this. The believer is on the path of awareness and experiencing. The believer is no longer superstitious, ignorant and arrogant. The believer is aware of truth, and they are comforted by the truth. They are aware of Allah, and they are comforted through that awareness of Allah. And they know that they have Allah. They feel secure. When you know that you have Allah and you feel secure, Satan can't whisper to you. So what actually happens, even from a psychological perspective, when somebody is fearful, guilty, shameful, when somebody is feeling threatened, you start attracting low vibration thoughts and ideas into your head. You start being influenced by this low vibration. I'm speaking from a psychological perspective, that Satan whispers to you. When you have a diseased heart and you don't know Allah and you haven't drawn closer, you don't want to be spiritually developed and live as a spiritually developed person. You don't want to be psychologically developed and live as a psychologically developed person. You don't want to be part of a community and support a community that is developing. You don't want to live in life as a developed human being with other developed human beings. That's why you'll understand why the Quran says believers must marry believers. It doesn't say hypocrites must marry hypocrites. Islamis must marry Islamis. No. It says believers. Actually, it doesn't say, it says believers. Why? Because the believer is operating at a higher level of awareness. They're not insecure. They're not attracting all these satanic thoughts and being controlled by them, satanic ideas, and they're not acting out of satanic whisperings. That's why the Quran says, claim refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed, who whispers. This is all a scientific fact, what I'm telling you. If you are insecure, you have all these thoughts, you fear, you worry, you are desperate, there's no assurance in your heart. But when you know Allah, when you have submitted, when you have chosen to draw closer to Allah, there's assurance. Satan can't whisper to you, those negative thoughts can't come to you. You're operating at a higher level of perspective, perception. You're operating at a higher level of awareness and experiencing. You can see the truth. You're a different human being. The believer is a different human being from a non-believer. The believer is secure. The non-believer is insecure. So guidance is guiding us to live as a secure human being, aware of truth, experiencing the security when you're aware of truth. And you're on an upward spiral. You're on the path, which is an upward spiral. You're on the path where things are getting better and better. You're learning and growing every day. Every day you're opening your heart to more iman. Every day you're living in your life, you're living with more amal. And a life tayyibun every day. Every day. Every day. That's the path. Guide us to the path. I'm on the path. Every day there's more and more iman in this heart. Every day there's more amal in my being. Every day I'm inspiring to higher, better relations with people and in life. And most importantly, I'm purifying my heart with Allah, having Him purify my heart for the hereafter. Every day I'm on the path. So what is the value of guidance? Oh, guidance takes you to a higher perspective, where you have higher perceptions, where low vibration thoughts and ideas can't get you, where you don't behave badly. Guidance takes you closer to Allah, where you are experiencing His protection. The Quran says it is Allah's responsibility to protect the believer. Allah's responsibility to protect the believer. How wonderful. So, when you receive guidance, you no longer remain insecure. You're on the path to greater security. You no longer remain with bad behavior. You're on the path to, honorable human behavior. And you're no longer living in like horrible ego desire life with relief, safety and excitement. You're living natural life with right people. And you're enjoying your life in a natural, healthy way. Allah put love and compassion in our hearts that we may dwell with each other in tranquility. Allah put love and compassion in our hearts that we may dwell with each other in tranquility. That's what's waiting for us, a life tayyibun on the path. You see, so I lose a lot of people because a lot of people want to remain with this idea of I don't want to become spiritually developed and learn and get guidance and live as a higher functioning person. I want to still remain as Islami. I just want God to help me. You know what I mean? God is helping you by giving you guidance. God is helping you by showing you the error of your ways. I don't want to become more developed. So I was insecure and I worked on my security. Allah, through faith, security, I worked on my security. And I was self-defeating, life-destructive. My behaviors were destructive. I worked on becoming a better human being, iman, amal. I had horrible relationships with people. But I worked on my relationships with people. So most people don't want to do that. Most people are like, please change the effects of my, address the conditions of my remaining insecure, without amal, without a life table. I don't want to develop. And I just want you, Allah, to change the conditions of this. And that's where we'll lose most people. Because I'm saying this last week and I'm saying this week as well. If you value guidance, that guidance is guiding you to become a human being that is spiritually developed, psychologically developed, and interpersonally developed in this world. Guidance is guiding you to becoming an outstanding human being. Guidance is guiding you to becoming not only an outstanding human being, an empowered adult. Guidance is guiding you to live in this world with other people, giving and receiving as a receptive vicegerent of Allah. Now, people don't want to learn. So at this point we lose most of the people, because they thought, can't we just remain the same? We'll just ask Allah to do something. Tell me how to pray. Tell me how to get Allah to give me what I want. Tell me how to control Allah. Allah is not here to be controlled by you. Allah is showing you through His mercy that human beings can develop, and if you don't develop, it's bad. If you do develop, it's good for you in this world. And so who will choose development? Who will value guidance? And who will choose development? Who's inspired to live with Iman in their heart? Who's inspired to learn to live with Iman in their heart? Who's inspired to learn to live as an honorable human being with Iman? Because the secure are not the same as the insecure. You understand? The Prophet was asked, who are the secure? And he says, one who everybody is safe from. One who everybody is safe from, including yourself. I used to damage me and destroy my life with my own self-defeating, life-destroying. I wasn't safe from myself. You understand? So you can't be a believer. If you're not safe from yourself, other people are not safe from you. You're not a believer. I want to be that person who I'm safe from me and others are safe from me. Now, not everybody wants to become that person. I want to be that person who's empowered, who lives with the ability Allah has given me to apply myself in my life powerfully. I want to live with that ability. You know what I mean? Allah has given each one of us the ability to connect with Him and receive His benefits. That's Iman. I'm going to talk about that as we go through the series. Allah has given us the ability to apply ourselves in life. As a human being, you have reason. You can relate, you can respond. You can apply yourself responsibly. As a human being, you can do things for you, your body and your life that benefit you. As a human being, you can be a benefit to others. But not everybody wants to be the benefit to themselves, their bodies, their life and other people. Not everybody. People want to just continue. I was smoking, drugging, doing the worst of everything. You know what I mean? But not anymore. Not anymore. I am allowing Allah to reach me, and His love to reach me, His support to reach me. I'm using the power of Allah to be protected, progressed and prospered in this world. I know how to do that. You can too. But if you don't want to learn, you don't want to learn. I know how to live in my life with the Quranic teaching of halal and tayyib. I know how to be in my adult power rather than being in an addict child, grown up, living. I'm here now. You know, Iman Amal, and a life tayyibun. I know how to have compassion to people and connect with people and relate to people as not taking from them or sacrificing myself. Tayyibun. I'm supporting community, although I think it'll be about 100, 200 years before the Islamis actually wake up. But I'll give the message. The Quran says, keep reminding, for reminding benefits to believers. If the people are not benefiting from this, they're not believers, because reminding benefits to believers. The Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said that if you know any one thing, share. Islamic teaching tells us, Hadith Qudsi says, when you remember Allah in an audience, Allah remembers you in a greater audience. Shukr to Allah. All praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty. His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukr to Almighty Allah. It's guided me to the path of human excellence.